is apparently delusional about the disaster in Afghanistan. While the Taliban has taken over the country, President Biden seems confused by mixing up dates and claiming no one has been killed.
Still a lot of pain outside the airport.
Well, there is, but look, but no one's being killed right now. God forgive me if I'm wrong about that, but no one's being killed right now. We got 1,000 somewhere, 1,200 out yesterday, a couple thousand a day, and it's increasing. We're going to get those people out.
But we've all seen the pictures. We've seen those hundreds of people packed into a C-17. We've seen Afghans falling.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
What did you think when you first saw those pictures?
What I thought was we have to gain control of this. We have to move this more quickly. We have to move in a way in which we can take control of that airport. And we did.
Here's the reality on the ground. 12 people have reportedly died so far. New video shows people running for their lives after the Taliban opened fire. There's panic and chaos outside the country's single evacuation point at the Kabul airport. And mothers are handing their children over the wall to soldiers to get them out. But President Biden says what is happening was inevitable.
Time ago.
We should have.
And accept the idea that it was going to be messy no matter what.
Well, by the way, what would be messy?
The
exit. If we had gotten out a long time ago, getting out would be messy no matter when it occurred.
Well, Dana, that was there's so many contradictions and differences between old Joe and new Joe, and his generals saying they didn't see it coming, but he said it was going to happen no matter what. It's just like it's no longer a question of whether we should leave or stay. The question is, how awful was this? Planned or not planned?
I was thinking today about, in the 70s, I talk about malaise.
Yeah.
Right? And do you remember Charles Krauthammer, the late Charles Krauthammer, wrote a piece a few years before he died called Decline is a Choice. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking a little bit about that today because this morning I watched the interview live at 7 a.m., and when President Biden said, well, nobody's dying, well, correct me if I'm wrong, and he's knocking wood.
Yeah.
I was like, Americans don't knock wood.
Yeah.
We knock heads.
Yes.
And I don't understand the point of sending 8,000 more troops in there to help get people out if we can't get people out.
Yeah.
If we can't get people to the airport. You have reports that French and British special forces they're not waiting.
Yeah.
They're going in to try to find their people. He does seem disconnected. I don't want the military to get demoralized. Mm-hmm. We need them to be strong, but it seems to me that what I saw today at the Pentagon is that they want to do more, but the commander-in-chief is not authorizing it.
Right. Oof. There was a poll done by Mission Roll Call. It's a veterans advocacy group of 1.2 million vets, and they found that 71% found that this recent mess has caused them personal sadness. Mm-hmm. So it's because of all the work they put in and seeing it end this way.
But they have to know that every American sees the disaster created by Joe Biden and that every American is deeply grateful for what, for the most part, has been a counterterrorism operation in Afghanistan to deny a haven to al-Qaeda. And that was it wasn't nation building. That was the reason we were there. And we are deeply grateful for that. And we know firsthand, like I've been contacting friends of mine who served and just trying to reach out to them, which is what we all do, because we have empathy and we have hearts and we have souls and we believe in prayer. That being said, you mentioned new Joe versus old Joe. I think that there's just one Joe. When he speaks, it's a debacle. When he doesn't speak, it's a debacle. He's plumbing new depths of moronery in a career, what a 50-year career in government, highlighted by the fact that he opposed the raid to kill Osama bin Laden. Andy McCarthy once said, mediocrity would have been something to strive for in Joe Biden's prime. One more thing in terms of finances. I heard Geraldo speaking earlier about the opium. The Taliban controls the largest opium operation in the world. Well, we're also giving up treasure and power to China because China is quickly moving into Afghanistan. Afghanistan has one of the largest reserves of rare earth metals, which we need for electric cars and solar panels and wind turbines. China already controls 80% of the production of rare earth metals. They're going in delighted to offer mining assistance to the Taliban. They're just beginning to develop this relationship. But again, that hands money to the Taliban, potentially trillions of dollars in the long run, and it hands more power to China. So it's a lose-lose for the United States again.
Yeah. You know, Jesse, we're talking about how I don't want us to become like how CNN was with Trump, where every day it was the walls are closing in, you know, tick, 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 boom, something bad's going to, they became obsessed. But it's like, so you try to measure the criticism of Biden, but it's hard at this point.
Because here's the truth. The president has stranded thousands of Americans in a war zone, and the only way for them to get out is an airport that's surrounded by an enemy, an enemy that's committing atrocities every single day on camera for the world to see. And I don't think the president understands that this is going to dominate the news cycle until every single American is evacuated safely. And sadly, he's created a kill zone. In the military, they say that's where every single person that wants to leave has to funnel through the same route that's controlled by who? The enemy. So they're going to block them, they're going to kidnap them, they're going to shake them down, or they might kill them. So now we have an Afghan hostage crisis where Americans are going to have to pay bribes to the Taliban to get out. The U.S. government might be paying them. Cash is king. Private entities could be paying them. We don't know, but we're going to have to be paying terrorists to evacuate Americans. Now, I know we want to get Afghans out too, but I want to get Americans out. That should be a priority. And right now, I think only 300 Americans left.
Today.
300. Thousands of Afghans have got only 300 today. And we don't know how many Americans are there. They say 10,000, 15,000. We don't know. And we don't have the capability to go out and extract them. And all Joe Biden needs to say to make everyone feel confident is that the United States is going to do everything within our power, no matter how long it takes, to get all of our people home safely. Do you think this would ever happen with Donald Trump? Donald Trump would never leave people behind in a hostile country like this. He was renowned for bringing back hostages. That was one of the best accomplishments in 4 years. So the New York Times is reporting that Joe Biden was briefed throughout the summer that there were mass desertions going on within the Afghan army. Collapse was rapidly occurring, and the Taliban takeover may have been imminent. Now, he didn't do anything about that, didn't change his plan, went out and lied to the American people, said everything's going to be just fine. I don't foresee it happening. So the question is, did the commander-in-chief lie to the American people, strand thousands of Americans behind enemy lines, abandon billions of dollars of lethal military equipment just to get a political photo op to pull out on 9/11. So Republicans, when they take the House back, they're going to have to decide, is this high crime or misdemeanor?
What do you think, Geraldo?
Well, I hardly know where to begin. I will say, in terms of the evacuation fiasco, it shows that there was no pre-planning. The fact that we've had to surge all these thousands of GIs to the airport, to the Kabul airport, why did we take them out to now bring them back? It just shows an absolute, utter failure in terms of planning. I don't think that Biden is lying. I just think that there is a degree of incompetence that is being exposed here.
We don't know if he's lying.
I don't think he's evil. Let me just say this.
That's not what I said. He could be a liar and not be evil.
I don't know how you do that, but I guess.
You're a politician.
I guess so. There's an image today, and Greg, you alluded to it at the top of the show, and I spoke about it with Martha McCallum earlier, where the mom hands the infant to the GI, who takes and raises the child over the concertina, the barbed wire. You know, your heart breaks because, number one, it shows the absolute dysfunction of the evacuation. Here's a mom. When did you last see those images of moms handing babies to benign force so the baby doesn't get harmed? I hate to bring up the illusions, but it is unbelievably heart-wrenching to watch. But it also says another thing about America. Yes, we screwed up the plan. There was no evacuation plan. It was total dysfunction. But once that child was in that GI's hand, we knew that child was safe. That's America. We're going to get this. We're going to get through this. We're going to get these people out. We're going to get our people out first, as we should. And we're going to get the people that are like dear friends of ours who put their heart and soul on the line for America. We're going to get them out. It's screwed up. It was bad. But eventually, the child will be in the arms of the GI.
All right.
President keeps passing the blame for the complete Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. Biden trying to throw the intelligence community under the bus.
There was no consensus. You go back and look at the intelligence reports. They said that it was more likely to be sometime by the end of the year.
Your top military advisors warned against withdrawing on this timeline. They wanted you to keep about 2,500 troops.
No, they didn't. It was split. That wasn't true. That wasn't true.
So no one told your military advisors did not tell you, no, we should just keep 2,500 troops. It's been a stable situation for the last several years. We can do that. We can continue to do that.
No one said that to me that I can recall.
So that's three different answers he's given, right? Dana, he said it in the question and answer session last month. No. Then he said it was split, and then again he said no.
But
Which
then
one is it?
But what of the last one, which is not that I recall.
Not that I recall.
And that is a way to, one, I mean, that could be the case. I'm sure he gets a lot of briefings. But we know that back in April, in the White House briefing room, they said that the military suggested this. And we knew this because it was on the front page of every paper.
Right.
I mean, if you read any of the news, it was there. We covered it at the time as we're following the story. And certainly it's a fact that intelligence reports are a judgment call. This is our best assessment. This is what we have right now. But the reason that commander-in-chief is there is because you get to make the decision. You have to make the decision. That is a decision-making job. So the decision does rest with him. And I think that when you have tension between an intelligence community and a president, that's never good for anybody.
And President Trump, former President Trump, he came out and had a statement that said basically you get the equipment out, then you get the interpreters out, then you get the people out, and the last people that come out are the military. Biden did it in reverse.
Right. It seems like when Biden talks about this, he at least believes he's being truthful. He's wanted the troops out. He was focused on the troop level because that was going to be the political win.
Right.
If we got him down to a few hundred, right? And so he was going to take them down. Originally, the date was 9/11. That was just, well, appalling. So they moved it up to late August. But he was most focused. So you take the troops out, which is, and I talked to somebody about this today. Common sense says you get the civilians out, including the Afghan allies, then the diplomats, and the last people to leave are your military, are the people on the ground. And in terms of the intelligence, couldn't Joe Biden use a laptop from Hunter to pop up now, or a cracked sex tape to show up? But see, the intel community's turned against him, so I guess that won't just appear out of nowhere.
So, Geraldo, they're going to have hearings on this, they're saying, in September, and they're going to have people testifying from the intelligence community. What did you know? When did you know it? What did you tell the president? They're going to subpoena documents. How's that going to shake out?
Well, Dana knows government much better than I.
That's not necessarily.
No, I believe that. I really respect you because you have a depth of knowledge that I have a kind of a superficial knowledge.
Wait a second. But did Geraldo just say somebody does something better than him?
I don't know.
I
think there's a button.
I got a million yarns.
We're going to have to shut down the show. This is too weird. This is bigger than Watergate.
I think that the intelligence community is full of crap. I think they're totally self-inflated. I think they're the most important people in Washington. They go around strutting around. Oh, I know, I got this. And anytime I see them overseas, they don't know. They're cocktail people. They're charter jet people. They're not the grunty people that got Osama bin Laden in the movies. I just think that those people who are advising, and they do best leak.
So this is CYA.
They're great leakers.
Saying.
But see what? Okay. But I have to just give you one factoid right now. The banks in Afghanistan are empty. There's not a dime left. They robbed everything. The United States has cut off all credit to Afghanistan. Nobody's picking up the garbage. The lights are going to go out soon that are still burning. The water's not going to be working in a little bit. Those cell phones that they all treasure, the cell towers are going to go down. The reason the Taliban is playing ball right now is they know they have not a chance in Shinola to get that fixed without a whole lot of help. And if they don't play ball and let these people out, I'm not saying anything. I'm not trying to justify the mistakes that were made by us. But I believe that this situation, while not redeemable, we're not going to ever go back to Afghanistan. We do have some leverage right now to have a humane evacuation. But I think America has to come to grips with the fact that we're going to have tens of thousands of Afghans coming to America. Get over it. We're going to absorb.
Right, well, we're basically paying all these people to come out. That's what's happening.
Yeah, well,
and
yes.
then when it's done, China and Pakistan are going to swoop in with the cash. Greg.
Anytime you decide you're going, that's sending a signal, no matter what. So I find the worst thing that Biden is doing is blaming the Afghan army and saying that they didn't fight as hard. Because if you know that the exit's coming, and everybody apparently knew this was coming, they also knew that the Taliban was going to become the new boss. So why tangle with the new landlord? If you know that you're not going to get air power and you know the United States is leaving, it seems that the fast transition that the Afghan army was allowing was just them looking out for their self-interest. It's like, why fight? Why go down with the ship? Right? If the ship, why don't I just, I don't want them to kill my family, so we'll just let them in. They made deals. I think in terms of accountability, we have to go further back. There were, again, I always say it's on my head. I take responsibility for ignoring certain things. And I ignored claims of well-documented stories about fraud and misuse of funds because it wasn't like it was Afghanistan. It was so confusing and blah, blah, blah. Or maybe it was just part of anti-war assumptions that I thought were silly, but they ended up being right. You're talking like $600 billion lost in grifting and corruption out of a war that cost over $1 trillion. That needs to be looked at. Where did this money go? Who wanted this war to keep going to make money, I think is a really good thing. And lastly, just a recommendation for a movie. One of the best war movies is an Afghanistan movie called The Beast. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it's probably
How about
around.
The Kite Runner?
I never saw that.
Well, I don't know if
Good
it's a
book.
movie.
The book's better than the movie, Geraldo.
I didn't see it.
Right, Dana?
I was actually just going to say
That's right. Dana and I know. Ahead, President Biden ramping up his war on Republican
Mask mandates in schools. President Biden scolding Republican governors and directing his Department of Education to sue them for blocking mask restrictions. But Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is hitting back, saying the president has other problems to worry about.
As you've seen throughout this pandemic, some politicians are trying to turn public safety measures, that is, children wearing masks in school, into political disputes for their own political gain. If you aren't going to fight COVID-19, at least get out of the way.
Joe Biden thinks the federal government should come and overrule the parents and force these young kids to wear these masks. And you got to wonder, where are your priorities when you're letting Afghanistan burn, our border burn, and so many other things in our country fall to pieces?
I like that guy, Greg.
Yes.
But that is gaslighting. He is trying to change the subject. The subject is Florida leads the nation in the most new cases per capita. Florida leads the nation in the most hospitalizations per capita, and he's talking about Biden and Afghanistan. Why isn't he dealing with it? He's running for president. I get that, but
yeah, I'm super skeptical when we only deal with a single variable like cases. I want to know what the severity is. I want to know, are these people that aren't vaccinated, are vaccinated? Are they elderly? Do they have other issues? And are the cases asymptomatic? A lot of them are.
Are you arguing that COVID is not a problem in Florida?
No.
Well, my point is
I'm not getting into this.
He's being criticized by Biden about COVID.
Biden is doing this because he's in trouble. This is the only way he's going to maintain any relevance. He's mortally wounded by Afghanistan. So this debate is only here for artificial reasons. I think we live in a time now where we hold more contempt for our political adversaries than actual terrorists. It's why you keep hearing people from Michael Moore to Stephen Colbert comparing Republicans and Trump voters to the Taliban. Now, if I were like them, and God knows I'm not, I would point to the Democrats and say, it's interesting how maniacal they are about having people cover up. I mean, perhaps the mask is their burqa, don't you think? I mean, the fact is, they're so hot on mask mandates. They seem to have that same authoritarian inclination that the Taliban has, for people to do what they say. But I would never say that
No, you
because
would
I'm
never.
not a hack. I will point out, however, that at Martha's Vineyard, the hospitals are saying it's large COVID and non-COVID related patients since the pandemic began. And a hack would probably point out that there was this massive big bash at Martha's Vineyard by someone whose name might rhyme with
I thought you were going to behave today.
Chirac Flabama. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say that the rise in COVID at Martha's Vineyard were a bunch of pro-Trump fishermen that just showed up there on the island.
Probably so.
Yes.
So, Dana, how would you advise Governor DeSantis?
Well, the thing is that he's counterpunching, right? So he didn't pick the fight with Biden. He is governing. So he is the elected governor of Florida. He's saying, here's what I'm saying to schools. He's not saying you are not allowed to wear a mask at school. He's saying that there should be choice. And I believe in local control. I think that's good. But you mentioned that you think that DeSantis is gaslighting by changing the subject. That's exactly what President Biden did yesterday.
He did?
When he came out and gave a whole speech about booster shots, which are fine. I mean, that's fine. But it was obviously not the issue of the day. And that is something that the Secretary of Health and Human Services or the Vice President could have done for him.
Also, I'm tired of people using the word gaslighting incorrectly. Just because people are having a debate
I
doesn't
used
mean
it exactly correct.
Gaslighting is something really bad is happening to you, and I'm telling you it's not happening.
You get caught cheating, and you say, why didn't you do the dishes? That's gaslighting.
Yeah, perhaps. I've never done that.
The dishes?
It's a fact of life that Florida is suffering, and DeSantis, for all his swashbuckling, proof's in the pudding.
DeSantis is saying, as Republicans say, that it's up to the parents to decide what's best for the kids. The Democrats are saying, I want the government to force what we think is best for all of the kids. And that's a great difference between the left and the right. DeSantis, as Dana said, he's not saying you're not allowed to wear a mask if you're a child. He just says you have the option. What's wrong with options? What's wrong with choice, Geraldo? That's the issue. And Biden thinks he's right on the polling, but he's wrong on the facts. There's a new study, 25,000 school-age children. Listen to these physical, psychological, behavioral problems that have come from mask wearing in schools. Increased headaches, difficulty concentrating. I had that normally. Drowsiness or fatigue, malaise, sleep issues, shortness of breath, dizziness. Do you want children dizzy and passing out, Geraldo?
He's gaslighting
No, you don't. And if there really
I feel dizzy listening to this.
Yeah, right, because the facts make you dizzy, Geraldo. And there hasn't been a school that's been a super spreader. It's just not true. If there was, it'd be all over the news.
Yeah.
Dagan, despite everyone not answering my question,
I thought I did.
the fact of the matter is the federal courts will back the federal government on this issue. They already have. They started with Indiana University. It's going to spread throughout the
That's a
country.
vaccine
I was
mandate,
carded at the
although
hotel yesterday.
For what?
For
Your
vaccine.
AARP card?
Both.
The Indiana case is a vaccine mandate. This is about providing parents with the choice of whether their kid, their tyke, is going to wear a mask. And there is zero science to back up the effectiveness of mask wearing among young children. In fact, the World Health Organization says between ages 5 and 11, listen, I'm answering this. Between 5 and 11, you have to take into account the psychological issues of the child and the learning issues of the child before you put a mask on that kid for a long period of time. And if Joe Biden gave truly a flying damn about the lives of people in Texas, red state, but Florida is a swing state, maybe you ought to get in front of the American people and say, if you have COVID, the first thing you need to do is ask your doctor about an antibody infusion. But he's not going to do that because didn't Governor Abbott have one? Oh, that crosses the line. You need to communicate with people. If you're sick, this is what you do. Oh, and by the way, why hasn't the federal government bought any of the new antibody drug that was approved by the FDA? It's Verb Biotech and GlaxoSmithKline. They haven't even bought any of that. That's actually how you fight the pandemic if you get COVID. And it's up to the commander-in-chief of the nation to tell Floridians and Texans and everybody who lives in every state who might get COVID. But he didn't do that because he's making this a political issue because he's gasping for air.
I don't disagree with anything my colleagues have just told you, ladies and gentlemen. I merely report to you that the federal government will be empowered by federal courts to deny Medicaid and Medicare reimbursements to nursing homes, 15,000 or more of them, because the federal government has that power. So regardless of everything you've heard about masks or good or bad or the
Geraldo, you know what President Biden should do? Executive order declaring Halloween is every day.
Where's my birthday?
Masks are so important.
A red wave panic
is sinking fast as multiple crises pile up, and it could screw things up for Democrats in the midterms next year. The Real Clear Politics average shows Biden's approval slipping below 50% for the first time this year. That's on top of Democrats already sounding the alarm about their terrible messaging. Rising crime, the border, a spike in COVID cases. Greg.
His poll numbers are sinking faster than Brian Stelter in a McDonald's ball pit. I just wrote that one down. I thought it was okay. With our government, they didn't plan an exit strategy for Kabul, but they should start planning a new exit strategy for the Democrats in the House and the Senate when they leave D.C. Oddly enough, people are craving stability, which was kind of what Joe was promising in the good old days. We understood that Trump was a chaos engine. He was doing 5 things at once. Trump shook the box. Biden promised just to lay in it. And you could say that the presidency ages the man. I'm hoping that Joe is Benjamin Button, because I don't see him getting much older.
Again, a relatively obscure cultural reference.
I got this one.
Thank you.
I would say you forgot one thing that they have, and that is redistricting.
Right.
So that's happening this year. And so Republicans are already, kind of with reason, measuring the drapes for some of these districts in the House that they are targeting. And the recruiting on behalf of Kevin McCarthy, the minority leader in the House, is very good for the Times. Diverse candidates and candidates with military backgrounds. So it was already going to be very difficult for President Biden to try to get through this massive agenda. You've got the infrastructure bill, the debt ceiling issues coming up, reconciliation they want to do, the voting bills that they want to do. But you add a Kabul commission to the mix, and it's going to slow everything down.
Geraldo, I know this isn't a worry for you, but inflation, I forgot that, but 86%, well, as you take that 5 ski out of your wallet, it's worth less. So thank you very much.
Just in that
86% of those people polled by Fox were concerned about inflation, and people are getting hit seriously hard in like buying groceries and things like that.
Well, I don't know what milk costs because I don't shop. I don't like shopping. And now you order it from the Amazon anyway. But gas is where people see inflation. Gas.
I get gas from
gas
milk.
Prices. When you see a gallon of gas is over $3, people understand that.
For everybody around me.
I hear that poll result, and I discredit it. I think that what people care about is chaos at the border. They care about Kabul will be a huge topic because the people will bring in shame, and the Republicans will shame the Democrats for running away and so forth. But I think that Biden is in trouble. Redistricting is going to be a big thing, and I think the Republicans will sweep back in power. And I think that, talking about inflation, the $3.5 trillion